Here we go again. Today we're going to dive into the pros and cons of moving and living in Ozark, Missouri. This is going to be a good one because Ozark, of all of the cities I've covered so far and all of the cities I've lived in, is my favorite. So let's get into it. My name is Greyson Roberts, a realtor in the greater Springfield, Missouri area, and I will be your relocation guide into the greater Springfield, Missouri area, or more specifically, Ozark. Don't hesitate to reach out with any questions regarding Ozark, Nixa, surrounding cities, or real estate in general. I'm here to help. I'll pop up my contact information up on the screen. Whether you're looking to buy, sell, or invest, it doesn't matter. I would be more than happy to help you. Now, most videos and pros and cons lists like to start with the pros and cons, naturally. But I like to start with the cons first and end on a high note. And it's honestly pretty easy because there's one con, the lowest amount of cons I could come up with for any city. And I'm not biased because I've actually never lived in Ozark. I don't live in Ozark. I live in Nixa. I've lived in Springfield, but I've spent my whole life in and around it. And ironically, it's the one place I haven't lived. With that being said, let's start with the cons. 1, it's slightly more expensive. Now, this one's a little bit tricky because even though Ozark, Missouri is below the cost of living national average, it's a little bit more expensive than Nixa and Springfield. It can be debatable if it's any more expensive than Nixa, and Ozark has their fair share of affordable housing and affordable rent and has their fair share of mansions, and so does Nixa. But in general, it seems that houses are just a little bit more expensive in Ozark, but like I said, it totally depends on the current market conditions, and right now, that seems to be the case. Ozark is in high demand, and there just aren't very many houses to go around it nationally. So it is a little bit more expensive than Nixa right now. It's always going to be more expensive than Springfield just because it's a better place to live, but it's still below the national average. Now moving on to the pros, low cost of living. This is what I said where it's kind of confusing. So yes, the cost of living is lower than the national average. It's cheap. Used car prices, home prices, rental prices, grocery, healthcare, it's all cheap. Ozark is affordable, just a little bit more expensive than competitors like Nixa. So that's what I mean by that. It's a little bit more expensive for the area, but cheaper in the grand scheme of things. The second pro of Ozark is education. They have some of the best schools in the nation, and they offer healthy rivalries with other competitors like Nixa. Academic test scores. We're always butting heads over who's the best, so it promotes a healthy rivalry. Of course, in sports, we have a classic, football, basketball rivalry. But moral of the story is the community is really involved and invest heavily into the education and school system. Not to mention, Ozark has an OTC community college campus, which is really convenient for students wanting to go to college. So kindergarten all the way up through graduating college, Ozark has some fantastic schools to offer. Number 3 is things to do. It's kind of funny because I made a video about Nixa, which is arguably a slightly bigger town, but they have way less to do. Ozark has tons of stuff to do. They have one of the best indoor water parks and rock climbing wall and just community center in general in the entire greater Springfield, Missouri area. Right behind that community center is a gorgeous, it's got to be like a mile-long walking trail covered in greenery next to a beautiful river that I've taken my dog and fiance down many times and taken lots of cool pictures. There was also some of my favorite restaurants in the whole world, including the Finley. It was an old church, but they renovated it into a restaurant, and they have a really cool speakeasy kind of bar in the basement. But it's just a really high-end, awesome restaurant. There's also The Mill, which is a great place to go. It's a high-end restaurant. You can go there for lunch as well. And it was built by Johnny Morrison, the owner of Bass Pro. So if a billionaire is behind it, it's going to be awesome. And it is beautiful. And speaking of speakeasies in the basement, I've heard that the Garrison down below is a new bar. My parents have been. I haven't had a chance to check it out yet, but it looks really cool. Another high-end dining experience. It's separate from The Mill, but it's just a lot of fun things to do. Movie theaters. Hey, we got a Home Depot. Or they have a Home Depot. I wish we had a Home Depot in Nixa. They've got Lowe's, all sorts of stuff that Nixa just doesn't have. And Ozark is just pretty. The downtown is historic. It's designed to be like this old-timey kind of vibe, but on purpose. They have a historic courthouse with a badass canyon. Cannon out in front of it. In the center of the downtown, there's Iguana Roja, one of my favorite Mexican restaurants, other businesses and shops to visit, and it's just a fun environment. Now, the last pro is crime. It's just a safe place to live. I mean, it's got the feeling that everybody knows everybody, even though they don't. You know, people wave, they smile, they start up a conversation. It's pretty stark difference even between Ozark and Springfield. Ozark has a very, very similar feel to Nixa in kind of small town, warm friendliness, low crime, no homeless people. They're all in Springfield. So Nixa and Ozark are pretty much similar on this, but you know, you get like, I mean, it's a population of 20,000 people. There's more in the surrounding area outside the city limits, but it's a small town, not small enough that everybody knows everybody, but it certainly kind of feels like that, if that makes sense. It's kind of hard to explain if you haven't been to a high quality of living type of town with that size of population. Anyway, guys, that is what I think about Ozark, Missouri. Those are the pros and cons. And if you're looking to find your dream home in your dream little city, I've got you. Ozark might just be that dream little city you're looking for. Don't hesitate to reach out with any questions regarding Ozark, Nixa, Missouri, Republic, Willard, anything in the greater Springfield, Missouri area, or real estate questions in general. I'm looking forward to being your friendly neighborhood realtor, and I will see you guys in the next Boss Properties video.